some of the scientific information referring to numbers in the Qur'an. The date of the lunar landings. The hour of doomsday has drawn near and the moon has split. Surat al-Qamar, the moon, Quran chapter 54 verse 1. The word Qamar means moon, and the word moon appears in the first verse of Surat al-Qamar, Quran chapter 54. There are 1,390 verses from that verse to the end of the Quran. The year 1390 in the Islamic calendar corresponds to 1969 AD, the date of the lunar landings. This, one of the greatest landmarks in human history, was indicated 14 centuries beforehand. Allah knows the truth. In addition, the word inshaka, meaning split, is used in this verse. The word is derived from the root shaka, meaning to plow, dig up, to turn the soil. In the same way, the Apollo 11 spacecraft that went to the moon also took specimens of lunar dust back to Earth. In that sense, the term "the moon has split" is consistent with developments in the present day.
Number of verses from the first verse of Surat al-Qamar to the end of the Quran equals 1,390. Date of the lunar landings, Islamic calendar, equals 1,390.
The orbit of the moon. The word Qamar, referred to as a heavenly body in the Quran and meaning moon, appears 27 times. The elliptical orbit of the moon around the Earth also takes 27 days. But this is not a number that someone looking from Earth could determine. Because since there is a 29-day between full moons, it used to be thought it took the moon 29 days to travel around the Earth. The fact is, however, that as the moon revolves around the Earth is also traveling round the sun. Because of the movement of the Earth, the moon completes its orbit with a 2-day delay. This is another reference in the Quran consistent with modern astronomical findings. Allah knows the truth.
Number of times the word moon appears in the Quran equals 27. Time it takes the moon to travel round the Earth, in days, equals 27.
The ratio of the sea to the land. The ratio of the appearances of the word sea and land in the Quran is identical to the ratio between sea and land in modern science. The continents had not yet been discovered at the time the Quran was sent down, and it was impossible to determine the ratio between the land and sea. Even such a large continent as America was only discovered in the 15th century. The word land appears 13 times in the Quran, while sea appears 32 times. These numbers total 45. If we divide the number of references to land in the Quran, 13, by 45, the result is 28.8888888889%. When we divide the number of references to sea in the Quran, 32, by 45, the result is 71.1111111111%. These ratios are the exact ones that apply between water and dry land on Earth. The repetition of these words in the Quran may be an indication that the Earth is 71% covered in water and 29% in dry land. Allah knows the truth. It has only been possible to arrive at this ratio in the present day, thanks to satellite photos and computer calculations.
Number of times the word land appears in the Quran equals 13. Number of times the word sea appears in the Quran equals 32. Proportion of dry land to sea covering the Earth equals 13 divided by 45 equals 29%. Proportion of sea to dry land on Earth equals 32 divided by 45 equals 71%.
The star Sirius. Sirius, the brightest star in the night sky, appears as Shira, meaning star in verse 49 of Surat an-Najm, Quran chapter 53. That it is he who is the Lord of Sirius, Shira. Surat an-Najm, 49. The fact that the word Sirius, or Shira in Arabic, appears only in the 49th verse is particularly noteworthy. Because, based on the irregularities in Sirius' orbit, scientists discovered it is actually a binary star. Therefore, Sirius is actually two stars, known as Sirius A and Sirius B. One feature of Sirius B is that it cannot be seen by telescope. The stars in Sirius system follow a course toward one another in the shape of a bow, and hang in the sky by approaching one another every 49.9 years. These scientific data have been unanimously confirmed by the astronomy departments at the universities of Harvard, Ottawa, and Leicester. Note 1. Yet this scientific fact that only emerged toward the end of the 20th century was miraculously referred to in the Qur'an 1,400 years ago. This miracle appears when we read verses 9 and 49 of Surat al-Najm, Qur'an chapter 53, together. That it is He who is the Lord of Sirius. Surat an-Najm, 49. He was 2 bow lengths away or even closer. Surat an-Najm, 9. The term Kana Kaba Kaushani Adna, in verse 9 of Surat al-Najm, translated as 2 bow lengths away or even closer, may be a reference to these 2 stars drawing closer to one another in their courses. Allah knows the truth. This scientific fact, which could not possibly have been known at the time of the revelation of the Quran, proves once again that the Quran is the word of our Almighty Lord.
The star Sirius appears in the surah called an-Najm, meaning star. The stars comprising Sirius approach one another in their courses once every 49.9 years. This astronomic phenomenon is indicated in verses 49 and 9 of Surat an-Najm, Quran chapter 53.
The atomic number of iron. Iron is one of the elements mentioned in the Quran. Allah says this in the surah called al-Hadid, or Iron, chapter 57. And we sent down iron in which there lies great force and which has many uses for mankind. Surat al-Hadid, 25. The word anzalna, meaning to send down, may also be thought of in the figurative sense of being placed at the service of human beings. But bearing in mind the true meaning of the word, which is physically descending from the sky, used for rain and solar rays, then the verse can be seen to contain a hugely significant scientific miracle. Because modern astronomical findings have revealed that the iron on Earth came from giant stars in outer space. Point 2. In addition, Surat al-Hadid also refers to the chemical symbol for iron. Because verse 15, in the exact middle of the surah, begins with the Arabic letter Fe, which is how iron is known to chemists. In addition, the number emerging from a numerological, abjad, calculation of the words al-Hadid, the 57th surah of the Quran, is the same as the number of the surah, 57. A calculation of the word Hadid alone produces the number 26. And this corresponds to the number of iron in the periodic table. The Quran, which contains the revelation of our omniscient Lord, refers both to the formation of iron and to its atomic number. Allah knows the truth.
Al-Hadid is the 57th surah of the Quran, and the numerical value of the words al-Hadid is also 57. The value of the word Hadid alone is 26, and this is also the atomic number of iron.
The rotation of the Earth around the Sun, 365 days. The word day, yawm in Arabic, appears 365 times in the Quran. It also takes the Earth 365 days to orbit the Sun. The fact that the word day appears 365 times in the Quran is very important in terms of its providing information about the Earth's orbit hundreds of years ago. The repetition of the word day 365 times may be a reference to the 365-day relationship between the earth and sun. Allah knows the truth.
The word day, yam, appears 365 times in the Quran. It takes the earth 365 days to orbit the sun.
Gender and the 23rd chromosome pair. The genetic makeup of human beings and other living things depends on their chromosomes and the genetic data in these chromosomes in DNA. Gender is dependent on the 23rd chromosome pair. In other words, the difference between a man and a woman stems from the 23rd chromosome pair. If a person's 23rd chromosome ID expressed in the form XX, she is female, and if in the form XY, then he is male. The Quran makes reference to the 23rd chromosome that determines the difference between male and female. Thus, the word man and the word woman both appear 23 times in the Quran. This discovery about chromosomes made only recently was reported hundreds of years beforehand in the Quran by way of the number 23, that which concerns the basic difference between male and female. Allah knows the truth.
The words man and woman both appear 23 times in the Quran. The 23rd chromosome is the main element that determines an individual's gender.
The Sputnik rising to the skies. The first ever satellite, Sputnik 1, was launched in 1957. Chapter 19 verse 57, 1957, Surah Maryam chapter 19, 57, of the Quran amazingly refers to rising and being raised. We raised him up to a high place. Surah Maryam, 57. The term rifanahu in this verse is derived from the verb rafi, meaning to raise, lift up or elevate. On the other hand, the word aliyan in the verse bears the meaning of high, very high in addition to great. When we consider this verse by itself, therefore, it means being raised into a very high place. In that respect, verse 1957 may be a reference to the launching into the sky of the spacecraft Sputnik 1 in 1957. Allah knows the truth.
Verse 1957 of the Quran speaks of raising to a high place. Sputnik 1, the first unmanned satellite, was launched in 1957.
The genetic code of the bee. All the bees in the world have the same number of chromosomes, and that never changes. Male and female animals generally have the same number of chromosomes. But the bee is slightly different. Because the male bee has 16 single chromosomes and the female bee 16 pairs. Point 3. The bee is thus different in this respect, that of chromosome number. This difference is indicated in the Quran. Thus, Allah knows the truth. The Surah Nal, meaning bee, is the 16th surah of the Quran. And 16 is the number of chromosomes these animals possess.
Surat an-Nahl, meaning bee, is the 16th surah. The bee has 16 chromosomes.